Hello.
Hi, Kalan. How are you?
Hello, how are you?
Good, good.
Yeah,
Have we?
nice to see you again.
Oh, God. Yes. So you were there with us last time. And Sahiti, were you with us last time too?
I was there last time.
Oh,
Yes, I was. Hello.
wonderful. We have Shasta with us, who's our special guest, and she's very special. And she's gorgeous. And we have our beautiful Ola. Look, I'm showing my age using the, and I hope all this I've just started uni again as a first year student because of the course I'm doing, and it's kind of like. I keep saying, oh, thanks, love. And then I go, no, you can't call people love. It's incorrect, and I go, I'm so sorry. And they go, no, no, it's okay. It's okay. They see my gray hair. But how are you going? How are you enjoying everything? Okay. The units, that is. Uni. Cooler?
Trying to catch up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
And Sahiti, you too?
Yeah, I'm a month in, so I moved about a month ago to Melbourne and I'm still kind of settling in, finding my way around things. But yeah, it's all right.
Would you two like to
Yeah,
introduce yourselves so that Shastra and then I'll introduce and then we'll do the welcome to country and Shastra can introduce herself. Sahiti, would you like to start?
sure thing. Hi Shastra, my name is Sahiti. I'm from New Zealand. I moved to Melbourne a month ago for my PhD. And my project is looking at 3D food printing of texture modified food for dysphagia, which is a swallowing condition. So we're kind of like bridging science and health together. So it's a really exciting project with CSIRO, and we've got an industrial partner associated. So yeah, really cool stuff. Yeah.
That sounds fantastic.
Yes, thank you.
Gulan?
Hello, everyone. My name is Hodang, and I am a student at QUT, Master of IT, majoring with the business analysis. So, last semester, I worked the technology, how to apply in the sustainability development. We were trying to develop some AI mm, uh, model for the sustainability ranking in procurement procedure. So this semester I'm working in the uh, uh, also working the lithium. How can we discover the lithium based on the
Yeah.
uh, big data? But I'm really don't know what I'm doing right now, but I'm trying to do this. So thank you.
That's great. Um, how about I do welcome to country and then we'll get Amelia and the others to Sastra, would you mind or would you?
Of course. No,
Okay.
that's great.
Let's do that because for me it's become a really important thing. And
I'm from Mongolia.
are you from Mongolia? Oh wow,
Yeah, yeah.
cool. Excellent. Fantastic. I love this diversity. Well, I have an Italian background. I guess if we want to share our cultural backgrounds, we will.
Mm.
See, I'm learning, and despite my age, I'm learning. Okay. The beautiful Queensland University of Technology acknowledges the Turrbal and Yugara as the First Nations owners of the lands where QUT now stands. We pay respects to their elders, laws, customs, and creation spirits. We recognise that these lands have always been places of teaching, research, and learning. QUT acknowledges the important role Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people play with the QUT community. And because I'm actually located in Western Australia, I pay my respects to the Whadjuk Noongar people of my area. And I am going to say that I think we are all very lucky that we are peacefully coexisting with the First Nation owners of these lands. And I think we still have a long way to go in terms of giving them full recognition. And I guess once you've lived in Australia long enough, you get to understand that. And I'm just going to quickly share this morning. I saw an initiative that was being in engineering and was all run by a Torres Strait Islander lecturer here there at QUT. So I'm really heartened when I see that. And I'm really looking forward to hopefully at some point being able to have him join us for one of our sessions, maybe on collaboration, because that's what it looks like. I don't know. I have a feeling, Shastra, you may have actually been as part of that. I saw Natasha's little tick. But this is on LinkedIn. And I tell you what, LinkedIn is a fabulous network. I know one of us are talking, some of we will be talking about that, but LinkedIn is a really fabulous network to meet people from all over the globe who are researchers, research developers, research, in your fields. And it seems to me that they're all very willing and open to sharing. And that's what I think. It underpins a lot of what leadership is about. Now, Shastra, would you do us the honor of introducing yourself? And then I might just hand it over to you and Ola, maybe.
Absolutely. So hello, I'm Shastra. I work at QUT and I run the HDR internships program at QUT. So we take care of internships and industry engagement opportunities for HDR students. That's higher degree by research. So that's PhD, Doctor of Philosophy or Master of Philosophy students. I'm also, apart from that, I'm a poet and I write poetry. So balancing two worlds where I get to engage in. I love the university space and I love higher education and I love graduate research in particular. So I did my own PhD quite a few years ago now, and working in this space lets me interact with PhD and MPhil projects without having to do any of the hard work myself, which I appreciate. So I'm zooming to you from the lands of the Turrbal and Yagara on QUT ground, and I want to acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded and that we should never grow numb to injustice as well. So although colonial violence continues to this day, First Nations people have a long and unbroken history of knowledge that's essential to the work we do in universities, in life, in everything. So yeah, so very grateful to be here and to get to talk to all of you.
That's great. Thank you, Shastra. Sorry, my language, I hope I'm not getting, no, Shastra.
You're doing really well. So
Thank you.
I remember you said we could share our cultural heritage if we wanted to. I'm from
Yeah.
Fiji. I was born in Fiji, but I'm
Oh,
actually Fiji Indian. Yes. So Shastra
yeah.
is how you pronounce my name, but
Shastra.
only my mom says that, so you can just call me Shastra and that's fine.
Oh, okay, okay. And do you know who your ancestors are back in India or not? Because I
Not
have
really. So
no.
there's a history of indentured laborers in Fiji, so that's part of the
Yeah.
colonial
I
rule
I
of
have
Britain.
I have friends in Adelaide who I'm going to visit, and they come from the same background. They
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
known each other, um, but they're the same background. That they were basically slaves taken to Fiji to work on the sugar fields or whatever it was. So the many personalities of our globe. Mayo, would you like to introduce yourself and let Shastra know a little bit about you and your research? And how are you?
You mean me?
Yes.
Meow,
Sorry.
meow.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
actually, and I like this is the second session, and I've realized that whether I'm coming into the wrong spot because I'm not a HDR student. Is this only for HDR students? No.
What do you mean? You're not actually
Um,
studying?
because I like the last session we're talking about a lot on research, and here I'm hearing Sastra is also talking about HDR. So I wonder whether I'm coming to the wrong course.
What what's your background? What
I'm not a HDR student. I'm a senior lecturer. So my
right.
HDR experience has been past me like last 10
Yeah.
years
So
ago.
we also
Yeah.
open our courses for academics and researchers. Do you have any background in research?
I'm still doing research. Yeah, I'm academic. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, so that's why probably you saw our advertisement as well about our courses.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. But because I enrolled because I would hear about the leadership and communication,
mhm.
and I thoroughly enjoyed the session in the previous last week. Yeah, but I'm a senior lecturer in engineering at Charlestown University based in Bathurst. So
Right,
I zoom in from Wiradjuri land.
right.
Um, so Charlestown University is west of Sydney. It's a regional
Yes,
university.
yes.
I'm the course director. 30% of my work is course director in the civil, mechanical, and electrical engineering. Yeah, and
That's
this
great.
session, I'm teaching a subject which is situated in Torres Strait Island. The context is in the EWB
Right.
challenge. I think probably people all know about it, the Engineering Without Border challenge, that is working on the Torres Strait Island context. Yeah,
Right, right. And you are doing some research at the moment,
I'm
or
doing research. Yes, like
what's your research on?
as in civil engineering, more like I have
Okay,
a couple of research areas in terms of soil stabilization, in
right,
terms
right,
of water and wastewater treatment, and
right.
then with
Okay.
a target on the SDG goals. Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you're doing research, this is yeah, like Ola said, that's why you're here. And it's really up to you what you get out of the course, We hope you enjoy it and share with us. I mean, I think it doesn't matter where or how many, I mean, where we are, what level. I've just started doing a first year unit at one of my local universities here in WA, and I'm loving it. And I'm loving because it's so different to what it was 50 odd years ago. So, Meow, we have something to learn from everyone and anyone. But if you feel that, you need something more at a different level, just feel really comfortable to do whatever it is that
Mm,
is good for you. Thank
thank
you
you.
very much for that introduction. I really appreciate it. We have Maria Theda. Either of you able to introduce yourselves quickly?
Yeah, I'm Maria. And before I get on to introducing myself, I would apologize that my kids are with me. So if you hear any screams or crying, I'm sorry. I've tried my best to kind of control the situation, but it's out of my control. My my kids
Maria,
seem to
yeah,
seem.
children are a gift. Don't worry about it. I've had children too. We will not take anything other than welcoming children. Okay,
Okay, thank you so much.
no
So
problem.
I'm from the School of Clinical Sciences, Faculty of Health, and I'm an HDR. And the my research is basically just to help athletes stay injury free. I know there is no thing as injury free, but as I would say that as far as injury free as they can be, as well aware about their injuries as they can be. So my research focuses on amateur athletes, what the epidemiology and the etiology, clinical characteristics of their injury is, and what are their experiences when they get injured, what kind of support mechanisms they use, and how do they manage the pain that comes with it, how it affects their daily productivity, their daily life. Because amateur athletes, they're not playing for money, so they might or might not have the same support that other athletes that are going to professional clubs have. So
Yeah,
how this whole help like how this whole thing plays out for them when they are playing, they're doing thing that is for their own themselves, that is their interest, but they're not getting any money out of it. So how does the injury in that subgroup is managed? That is something that I want to know in Australia.
great, fantastic. Thank you, Maria. We've had a note from Theda, and she's not able to use her microphone today, so she's posted her introduction, which we can all click on the messages box. We have Crystal, Amelia. Either of you able to use your microphones?
Anna, is it okay if I will read Feda's introduction because we
Yeah, please do, Ola. You can take over actually for a little while if you don't mind. Thank you.
So Feda
Yes,
is a
please.
PhD student in the Faculty of Engineering. Welcome. And she's working on gaining baseline knowledge of cartilage of sharks and rays. Wow, it's like a marine biology. Hopefully, in the future, there might be a regenerative medicine aspect where we can apply what we have learned from those animals to prosthetics for humans. That's amazing research. Welcome. I love it.
You can do this for a little bit, Ola, please.
Crystal,
We're
did you
sharing.
quickly introduce yourself and we'll start faster.
Yes. Hi, I'm Crystal. I'm doing a thesis on mental health and gambling from a public health perspective. Yes, so I don't know how much details.
That's interesting, and hopefully you've learned more about leadership,
Thank you.
etc. Yeah. Right. Anyone
I
else?
can go next.
Yeah, here we are.
Hi, guys. So my name is Bhargavi. I am University of Auckland alumni. Finished my PhD on marine biology again, but marine biology genetics.
Oh, wow.
So, so as Anna was mentioning, I kind of got this beautiful idea. So I was into research, and after finishing my HRE, I got into research and development. So I was developing blood-based genetic testing for early cancer detection based in Melbourne. And then now I'm working in research and commercialization, where we do research commercialization projects for New South Wales Health. So I am kind of from New Zealand, Australia, but my background is Indian. I'm from India origin, and good to meet you, Shastra. I hope I'm pronouncing it right because I know the meaning of that. Shastra means philosophies and like the sacred sculptures. So that's the Shastra means. So yeah, good to see you all. Hope to learn from each other. Thank you.
Welcome. Beautiful.
Lovely to meet you.
Melinda, did you want to?
Hello, I apologize. I was late. I was in another session that ran over time.
Thank you.
Just a quick intro, if that's okay, and then we're going to hand it over to Shastra, who's our special guest today.
Oh, lovely. So my name's Melinda. I'm a nurse practitioner. I work in an emergency department, and I'm a part-time Master of Philosophy student. And I'm looking at benchmarking advanced practice for entry into Master of Nurse Practitioner programs in Australia. I have a real interest in leadership and communication because the work that I'm doing is really co-designed. So for me, it's going to be about how I engage with industry and key people. So it's a real cornerstone for being successful with what I'm trying to implement.
Beautiful. So welcome everyone else. If anyone wants to have a voice now, we can, but if not, we will just start with Shastra and Anna.
Thank you, Ola. That's wonderful. Shastra, would you like to tell us a little bit about, now you've shared a bit about your background, what you do with the HDR partnerships, HDR Partnerships Officer Graduate Research. Okay, so you know what that means and what it actually looks like and the opportunities for the students. And of course, I'm never going to forget the fact that you're also a poet. And you actually, and whether you, I don't know if many of you know, Shastra has also received accolades and awards for her work. But anyway, I'll just hand all over to her. Go, please.
Yeah, so talking through, I'm conscious that we have people in the room who are already academics, who've already completed PhDs, and I guess I'm coming at the moment from the perspective of working with HDR students in terms of internships. But as a general thought around that, I think if your HDR degree, you're the product of your HDR degree. You know, I think we spend so much time working on this thesis, this big dissertation. It's a huge portion of work. It takes a long time to do it. But really, at the end of a HDR degree, you are the outcome of that. Like it's the purpose of that degree is not the thesis. It's to build a researcher. It's to build someone who goes out, does research, whether that's in the workplace, whether that's in academia or out in industry. It's the same both ways, I believe. So it's still you're building a certain set of skills. And I think one thing that can get lost, and this happens more depending on what field you are working in as well, is the sense that you're the driver and owner of your project. That dissertation is your dissertation. It's a project management degree in a lot of ways. And it's a big project and you're managing it. You're managing the academics who are helping you as well, your supervisors. You're in that role of managing them. And I don't think we often necessarily think of that degree as a leadership opportunity or a leadership task in and of itself, but it really is when it comes down to it. You know, you have control over this big document and the methodology and how that research takes shape as well. So that sits a bit outside the internship portfolio. But I think thinking about how you're taking ownership of that project and of every other research project you do from that period of time afterwards, there's always going to be an element of how you interact with others. I think the supervisory student relationship is such a difficult one to manage. And if you are managing it well, you're doing really good. You're doing well. So we've just got a note from Meow that she's going to skip this one and we'll be back next week. So no worries. Thank you for being here. And so when thinking about an HDR internship, if this isn't something you've thought of doing during your degree, I'd encourage you to keep it in mind, because it's another opportunity where you can tailor it to this sort of experience you want. And one of the examples I always come back to is we had a student recently who did an internship with a startup that is not owned by QUT, the university, but is based on the university grounds. And she was very interested in creating her own startup. So that was a very intentional internship where she worked with the CEO and learned a lot about financials and how this sort of enterprise would come into being. And it can really be an opportunity in that way. You can tailor your internship to get exactly what you want out of the company that you're working with as well. So I think coming to it from that point of view is a worthwhile thing to do. Yeah. Sorry, Anna, you're muted.
I was going to ask, is there any questions just before we maybe move on to my questions of Shastra? Anyone here interested in potentially doing a one of these partnership, taking up a partnership offer somewhere? And can you see the benefits for you in terms of your research?
I think it really depends, because like, for example, Sahiti is you're working with CSIRO already, like your internship is almost kind of embedded into your research degree. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think where I think the students who are doing that, if that's something you're interested in, it's lucky, you know, it's built into the degree, but it's also something you can seek out. And I think it's an opportunity to kind of move outside your field as well, if there's something adjacent or close to that you'd like to skill build in. It's a really easy opportunity to do so within the realm of your degree as well.
Yeah, I think that these industry opportunities are actually probably have more to offer than sometimes meets the eye than we see, because, as you say, Shastra, we're just digging away in our own little world. I have in the past met students who have worked with industry, like, for example, the Project Cup. It's a bit like an Australian Research Council project, but, they one was in the mining area and they wanted some understandings around whatever that topic was, but she actually used to go to work sometime at the university and sometime with industry. What that actually means, and I think, okay, I'm not going to say it, I'm going to let you say it. What do you think that kind of opportunity means in terms of finding positions after you've done your HDR and also opportunities for leadership in your field?
I think it's your I think we discount what the PhD can do and what it is, particularly outside of the space. But I think we have to communicate that really well as well, because in industry, they don't know what a PhD entails and what you're necessarily doing it. Not in all spaces. Some spaces more than others very much employ PhDs and understand what that degree, and MPhils as well, and understand the work that's undertaken in that degree. But I think doing some kind of engagement while you're doing your candidature is so important, just because you get a sense of, you're doing all this research, and if you're not already engaged with industry in the way perhaps Sahidi is, you don't necessarily know how your research is going to be disseminated out into the wider world. How is it going to be taken up? And I think to do an HDR degree of any kind, you're a slightly insane person who's very committed to one particular idea or one particular body of work, and you want that work to go out and to go somewhere, even if your end goal isn't necessarily to stay in academia. So it's thinking about how that research is going to be taken up, and I think that's difficult to do unless you're actually engaging with industry or the research end users who are going to take that research up as you're going. And in thinking about leadership, I think there's there's an interesting contradiction there, I think, because if you're staying in the academic space, the pathway to leadership in so many ways, I think, is service. Like a leadership role in academia is really a service role. It's a lot of it's you kind of have to step away in some ways from research, from teaching, and deeply like involve yourself in that service, in committees, in that kind of space. Whereas I think when you're moving into industry, again, there's a service level to it, but you're, at least in the earlier parts, I think there's a much more hands-on understanding of what that work is doing. So I don't know, I think they move in very different ways in industry and academia. And I think
Yes.
while you're in HDR, or while you're still in that early career space, wielding both of them is a difficult but necessary, I think, thing to do.
I agree. I agree with exactly what you're saying, Shasta, and I think we see it in that we look at leadership, right? And we look at I'll just set an example. One student once gave me a feedback and asked me why I was using so many Harvard Business Review resources. This is back in the day. In terms of the leadership literature, because they were academics, like this kind of a forum, and I could see the relationship, but they weren't sure because of the word business review. So sometimes it's kind of like, and that's where we see the threads that are very similar, and given the political environments demand us to. But I totally agree with you in that if you're looking at a leadership position within a university, it is much more a service. And, you're providing a service, you're teaching. Also, the amount of writing, that you do. If you're looking at working in industry, it's really that opportunity, and this is how I'm going to say it, and you please correct me, Shastra. It's that opportunity of something you've produced through your research that can actually grow within an industry, that can be identified. It's like probably the easiest example is like if you find the solution to COVID, the vaccine for COVID, what happens is, you get a better position in pharmaceuticals. But if you're an academic and you were involved, you'd be looking more at writing the papers and what do others think of that kind of thing? Because I mean, are there opportunities for you? Why? Shasta, do you have a comment?
I think
Paula?
just from my opinion, this is my opinion, and
Thank you.
having worked briefly as an academic and done my HDR, all the leadership opportunities, it is also service based. You create an HDR society. That was something my friends did, and I didn't create it, but I stepped up later on once it already existed. But those are those moments during your candidature where you can make things happen. And then when you have your service amount there, it's I was lucky to be, when I did my HDR, supervised by the head of school, but that was a fraught supervision relationship because she was hardly there. and that service position really takes up everything. And I think it takes a certain kind of academic to do that position well, and I think we all can think of when we've dealt with really good leaders in the academic space, and so often it comes at a sacrifice of their own research and their own perhaps passion that led them to HDR in the first place. But it's such a necessary, I think, in this particular climate, political climate and economic climate as well, in thinking about the the I don't want to say rules that government is imposing on universities, because they're not rules, but the government, as always, incentivizes things for universities with funding. And right now, the incentive is very much industry connection. That's a big funding that the government is driving through their funding opportunities and everything. And I think more and more we're seeing that these connections, like, it's not enough now to just be an academic who is involved in service and can be a leader. Now there also has to be industry connections. There also have to be, you kind of have to do it all, I think, as an early career researcher to get up that pipeline. Whereas for the tenured academics we know, I think many of them would not survive as early career academics in this, in the current space that you're all working in. I've gone off on a different tangent, Anna, I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry, because I think this is important, because really you're here and we're talking about industry and the opportunities industries can give our young students, and at some point our HDRs, and whether they're working now or in the university sector or not, eventually they may they may want to. I mean, I myself have a mix of both, all right? But I think you're absolutely right. And the politics within universities, and also when you talk about funding, it's really been a very slow drive since the 1970s. So we've moved from where students were paying their own fees, to no fees in the 1970s, right? And then we slowly moved back into paying. Now we've had the HECS, but also more overseas. So it has been more financial, a bigger financial drive, which means that you have to, I guess that kind of does define what university environment is going to look like, and even the role of our researchers, and the kinds of projects. If you look at the Australian Research Council, and even projects for HDR that I don't know. I mean, this is something you could share with us. The high degree, the opportunities with industry. What kind of projects do governments prefer to fund? Because there is that intersection, and from a leadership position, this is something that we all need to be kind of mindful of. And so, any comments from anyone on that, or any views? Shastra, Ola, wonderful students.
I think what we've been seeing is that government is really interested in that research and development, like more and more. It's sometimes for a while you could see internships were very much more geared towards, when you're an undergraduate student, you may do a very practical, skills-based internship. And I think the HDRs for a period that was also the case. Sometimes it would be a very skill-based internship, which sometimes some students would like, others would not. But now it's really like we are moving more towards that research phase. And again, it's that what research is prioritized right now. And there's a lot of AI research happening, a lot of data science. I think stuff is the real focus for many businesses and many research end users and industry in ways that we may not necessarily have expected before. You're working with, maybe think about a health organization, but they still want a project that's very much in that data science space rather than maybe a more pure health background. So I think that's been really interesting, like where technology has really been driving where this is going. And I think, I just think it makes it trickier and trickier, to be across all those fields and areas and know where to put, the basket to kind of put your eggs in, I suppose, for your research.
Yeah, Yeah. And I think, it's something that as students, HDR students, that we don't think about, I guess even for me, but, like we don't think about until later on down the track that how important it is to have those connections to the industry while we're actually producing the research. And sometimes it can mean, now it doesn't mean that you have to do, a placement necessarily, but, I guess I'm just looking at the benefits. And for example, I did a lot of my research on domestic violence, and I did have some connections, and because I'd done my research in that field, I could get jobs and say, look, here I've done some research on it, etc. But however, the downside is without that close connection right at the beginning, and retaining that close connection means that it does drop out a bit. And so you're kind of like reviving it, because as you know yourselves, your subjects are new to industry, what you're researching. And for example, I'm watching Sahiti, and your research. So this is all new and it's amazing. But that once your research is out there will be enhancements. We hope, because it's like, research in medical area is the easiest I find but I mean, even in the area that I was domestic violence, and even in the leadership area that I've worked in. I mean, now there's about, I can Google about, if I put leadership styles, or, there's hundreds coming through. There's joyous leader. There's, the old ones might be, right in the old days, it was transactional or transformational leadership. And then there's, servant leadership. And the same with all the fields that we work in. So it's kind of like we're doing the research now. Where do we want it to go? And to me, it's like we're looking at communication at the moment. So how do you communicate your research to ensure that not only is it going to be something that's valid and meaningful for now, but, what are you hoping to look for it to go in the future? And things, the upside, I have to say, I'm almost good, sadly, the upside of government being so interested in research and development and focusing on the meaningfulness of research to industry, so that there's that relationship that we're still refining, means that your research will, research that we do these days in industry, in the universities, is more likely to actually be utilized by the industry that we're writing our work for than it used to be about 40, 50 years ago when I was at uni. And this is just a pure observation from keeping my foot in academia all these years, and having done my own, pieces of research and watching what's emerging. So this journey, go on.
I think that's why, the government is very interested. The Australian government, of course, talking in this context, is very interested in any HDR students doing engagement as early as possible in their candidature. And that's because, thinking about it, once you've seen, your research end user and how they're doing their work, won't that then, trickle through in your thesis? Won't you then think like, oh, this is, the way this is structured, or my methodology isn't right for where this research is going to be going and how it's going to manifest out in the real world. And I think that's why that priority that industry research connection has become such a big deal, and why it's part of the academic career framework now. It's really one of the metrics that academics are being judged on now as well, and being able to introduce students into that space too. And I think you were saying earlier, Anna, that we start to think about these things and careers and everything towards the end of the thesis. And I think that's a real problem too, because you have this limited time, 1.5 years for an MPhil, or 3 years, 3.5 for a doctorate. We say that, but it takes as long as it takes. We all know that. But just thinking about, at every point, you need to kind of be thinking about where that career, what's available and where that's going. And in terms of leadership, so my colleague, Karen Carvu here at QUT, she's a careers educator, and she often encourages students to just set themselves up a little alert of jobs that they would be interested in, or in their field in general, and kind of get that mailed to them every 2 weeks, every month, And it just gives you a real sense over the months and years of what jobs are available and what jobs are becoming available, what's in vogue at a certain point, and what's slowly dying out to be replaced by something else. And I think that's such good advice, just getting a real sense of where the job market is going and what the leadership roles are in that market. Like, is it a purely, is this leadership role R&D based? Is it purely people based? Are you the kind of person who wants to manage people? And is that what leadership looks like for you? Or is leadership something where you're really driving innovation and working in the lab? And is it something that's both, which may often be the case when you're undertaking a leadership role in academia? So I think it is a soul searching thing as well, like thinking about what that means to you. I personally know that I never want to have to manage a person in my life, so maybe that's not what leadership looks like for me. Like, maybe leadership is innovation in poetry, I don't know, but it's thinking about what that actually is for you and how you would manifest that in your career. And I know that sounds kind of like wishy-washy, but it really is such a personal thing. And as to how that can be manifested in industry or academia, it can go in so many ways. I think there's opportunities to make that position appear for yourself.
Exactly. And you touched on something that I was very aware of when I did work with consulting with industries. And one of the departments, I think it was agriculture, memory, the only way that they could actually reward their scientists in their positions and their jobs was to actually upgrade them to manager or senior manager or whatever, right? The biggest problem that they confronted was that none of these managers had the technical skills, the science, everything. It's the same issue with engineering across all, but they didn't have the interpersonal skills that we're looking at now, the communication skills, the emotional intelligence, all of those skills, how to work with teams. And so what happened was that a lot of disgruntled workers within those departments were leaving. And so I mean, they would call people like myself in to ask for advice, what to do. Well, you've got to run some programs here, so, to get people in. So, and I guess this is what this is all about, and this is why for me, it's like, there's why, Shastra can support that, in various ways, not just help you find a placement, but also these kinds of conversations. It's like, I could ask all of you, what is it that you want to how do you see yourself at the end of this PhD? What do you want to do with it? Do you want to work in industry, or go on, Shastra.
I just want to say, I think it's really telling that we call those skills, communication skills, soft skills, and they're not soft skills, they're core skills, they're core skills. But I also think it's really telling that I'm pretty sure in this room, this is a room of all people who are assigned female at birth, or women, who are who are voluntarily going through this training, and I think that just says a lot, because it's so often leadership has been very, very, for a long time, a tool of the patriarchy, and something that still happens that way. But look at who's in this room now.
Well, that's very, very true. I totally agree with you. And yes, and I've actually started to change, and I think even in this leadership module, started to change the word soft skills. But you know how sometimes something becomes like rote learnt, and you can't, and you go, oh no, that's not the word. It's actually interpersonal skills, because that's what their skills are, the most difficult ones to learn. Because the technical skills are what you're writing, what you're doing. I think we all understand the difference. But Shasta, what do you think? Do you think we'd like to hear from our students? Are there any questions? Or the other thing is, if you don't have a question, how do you see yourself at the end of this? What do you want that piece of, that document that you've given your heart and soul to all these years? What do you want to see done with it? Sahiti, Melinda, Kulana, whoever goes first, just jump in. Don't be shy.
I'm very interested in making the industry that I work in better for the next group of people going through. Nurse practitioners have been in Australia for 20 years, and unfortunately, the operational aspect of the role isn't well designed, and there's not a lot of support. And it's really been nurses being very innovative in the space, on the fly, on the go. And it's meant that the industry itself is a little bit fragmented. So for me, it's really about trying to sort of consolidate some framework around what we do so that it supports the next cohort of students and makes it easier for people wanting to come into that kind of work.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So are you thinking about ways that you can kind of do that?
So
I would love you to take over.
So in terms of, I'm really well connected. The nurse practitioner community is quite small, and I've been a nurse practitioner for 13 years. So I went through QUT in 2011, 2012, when there were only probably 300 or 400 nurse practitioners in Australia at that time. And so I'm very well connected within the industry in terms of the college. I've got a supervisor at QUT who links in with all of the universities that offer NP programs. And I'm already having discussions with directors of nursing in the hospitals that I'm working in. So I've already been invited to do some editing for high-level documents for the Metro North for Queensland Health. And I've started doing that in the last couple of months. So I just try and talk about what I'm doing as much as I can to as many people as I can and just start creating networks with people. So that's kind of what I've done so far.
That's really amazing. And I think it is those interpersonal skills, isn't it? You're doing that, you're communicating through the documents, you're linking all these people together. And it's really amazing what you're doing. And I hope it comes to fruition that you get this network of people together. It's really fantastic.
Thank you.
Did anyone else want to share? We've got Maria saying that they want to get a government job, maybe in the AIS. Are you hoping to go into leadership, or do you want that chill level of government job where you don't have to work too hard? I'm being blasé. Government work is work. Yeah, leadership, fantastic. What does that look like for you? You can keep typing in the chat. Don't worry about using the microphone if you don't want to. But is that something where you're driving some kind of innovation, or do you want to be bringing people together like Melinda is? And anyone else who wants to, yeah. Yeah, see, it's all the women and the people who are assigned female at birth who are doing this real like community work, you know? It's this real community-based collective care, I think. And I think it's so fantastic. And I think if we can loop everyone else in with us, we can actually, and get class consciousness, we can actually do some really good things in the world. Yeah.
I think I'd just like to jump in and share my thoughts about, the question about whether I want to go into academia or pursue like an industry or research career. So with me, this is like, working with CSIRO and an industrial partner. This is like my very first time. And even in the past, my internships have been at a university.
Yeah.
So I'm very academia driven and I have teaching experience and I really love I really enjoy working with students, educating the next generation. Like that's my kind of passion. But also with AI and other kind of things, I do feel a bit threatened at the moment. So it feels like with my current research, like obviously being an industry project, like there's so much potential out there, science, bringing science and health together, making a positive difference, and dysphagia. There's a lot of more work to be done in this kind of space. So I think for me at the moment, I'm still confused. Like I'm 50-50, like I really love working with, yeah, like I said, the younger generation, but also, I mean, I'm young myself, I'm not too old, but I I really love teaching and doing these kind of practical works with the students, but um, also for myself, I really love for my research to make a positive difference in the future of the food innovation. Yep, so still confused. Yeah.
Well, I think you're placing yourself well. You're bridging those connections between both spaces. And
Mm.
I'm curious when, with your industry PhD, are you, I think you're good because you're working with CSIRO who are researchers as well, but do you find that it's driven by that sense of, how industry projects are more often much more short term? You have short term goals. And are you finding that in the research that you're doing with industry, or is it looking at that bigger, kind of more longer term picture? And have you
Yeah.
been managing that?
Yeah, fortunately, my supervisors are very happy for me to lead the direction of the project. So we do have our industry partner who, like supply the materials, and as a researcher, I lead the
Yeah.
way. So while there may be objectives, industrial objectives, it is up to me as the PhD student to say like, yeah, this is the way to go, this is not the way to go. Yeah, so we're looking at a broader, yeah.
That's really fantastic to hear because I know sometimes in the sciences you can be a student in a lab working on a project with many other people, and I think it's hard in that space to take ownership of the project. I'm from the humanities where you're always just the sole author on anything you're doing, so it's a very different kind of research space. So I think it's really good that you are recognizing that you're the
Mhm.
leader of that project. It's your project that you have ownership over, and I hope that continues whether you stay in academia in the academic space, because I don't know, I think we need more people in leadership spaces who have that element of community care, because it's only
Mhm.
by lifting everyone else up with us that we're actually going to achieve any sort of change in this,
Totally, yeah. Agree.
in these
Yeah.
spaces. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other thoughts, feelings?
Sorry?
I would like to share my experience during the we
Great.
participated some competition during the last semester with the five people. Then our problem ownership disappeared the second day with the one team member, and we three of us don't know why they are disappearing, and but that time our goal was just complete the competition. We couldn't think about the how can we win, can be winner. Then I just think about it's the leadership is it's not about just communication. It's about kind of vision and our ethical thinking, also the emotional intelligence. So there were the another two member was only first semester and the undergraduate students, and I'm trying to motivate them to complete the what we started and what's the goal. So uh, from that experience, I think that being the leadership is just about the not soft skills. There was some different things. So also I'm leading the project right now during this is my last semester, and I'm trying to thinking in differently to motivate the people. We are working together right now, and but I hope we will complete it. But the my from my experience, it's there is something I couldn't explain right now, but there is something that the leadership have skill. Okay.
One day you're going to get asked in a job interview, like, can you tell me a time you've like stepped up in a difficult situation and you need to remember this moment? and have that as your answer because that's really, really good. And I think what you've touched on here is that you were talking about like different ways to communicate. And I think that is so important because we're not all one homogenous group. Like we all come with our own cultural beings, we all come with our own neurodivergence, maybe we all have our various points on the axis of like privilege and disadvantage. And I think being mindful of that is so important and necessary as researchers, as people, even as peers, and as a leader as well. So I think the fact that you're already, twigging on that, it's really wonderful. And I hope you win your competition. I'll be cheering for you.
Absolutely. And Kulan, something you mentioned, like you were talking about things like vision, strategy, they're aspects of leadership. How I see them too is that where our interpersonal skills come in, our communication skills come in, is that I need to be able to communicate what my vision is in a way that the people I want to influence to come on board as followers, whether they be other academics on the project, my team, whoever they are, effectively. And so this is where the complexities of this kind of module come in. You start to see, say, okay, there's this unit, this unit, this unit. How do they work together? They do. But it's kind of like we study them each week separately, and then the picture comes together. And I think you very beautifully, when you identify things, something like vision is also something we need to understand, because that's, your research is a vision.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. Is there anyone else who would like to, Bhargavi would?
Yes, I
Great.
want to give a perspective, like just like I'm hoping I'm pronouncing her name right, Meow, who just came in the beginning of the session, who was in a mid-career, like a lecturer. I think I relate to her. I'm in the mid section of my career where I have I completed my PhD almost 10 years back. So um so listening to all of you, the thoughts that I came that come into my mind is more like leadership is leadership changes during the course of time. Like when I just finished my PhD, it was like working for a bigger purpose. So I had my genetic background and I was working in marine and I want to apply the genetic skills in clinical setting, like for genetic cancer treatment. So when I look at myself like doing that work, I had so much satisfaction working in that field. Like my report or my experiment is helping a patient to live his life one more day or to treat a cancer or something like that. So that was during research and development. Research is my PhD, and research and development is that having that purpose and stuff. And now the purpose has expanded its horizons, and I wanted to work in research and commercialization, where expanding these tests and the accessibility of personalized or precision medicine to wider audiences, understanding the rare diseases and stuff. So it's about, for me, if I have to give one phrase, it's the purpose. And as the bigger the purpose is going, the more, and again, incorporating leadership, like pulling those ends together and saying, what is leadership to me is working for a bigger purpose and bigger as I grow. Along with me, the purpose grows and helping as many people as I could. That is the real leadership for me. Like if I said it, if I could make you visualize what I said, so that's leadership for me. And yes, communication, strategy, planning, um, all these are I won't say soft skills, they are essential skills, and they all will you will pick up see, I think PhD will teach you many things, and you will pick up all these things as you go and sharpen your skills and work for bigger purposes. That's how I think it worked for me, and this is my perspective. Yeah, that's all I want to put it there.
Thank you, Bhargavi. And I think the thing is that even in communicating the purpose, but then, I can, I can, I totally understand this, that you do get to a point as you grow and as you move across your career, wherever it lay, you start to see things at a different at a different level, but also at a deeper level for yourself. And why do I really want this? What is it I'm going to? And sometimes we're not sure, but there is definitely an opportunity. And I really appreciate what you've had to share with us. And we have our labels because we have to have these labels. But sorry, you're going to say
No,
something?
I said spot on, exactly that. You have reinforced what I said. And you were also mentioning about doing one step at a time. Maybe when I was just graduated, I have no idea I'll be here. But so I was driven by what is inspiring me for the next step. So for example, as I said, I'm still in research and development, but I want to be in the space of research and commercialization, where I want to gain the skills um, like IP, maybe legal, patenting, and all that. So that, yeah. So again, I don't know where I'll be going from here, but one step at a time, and that drive is taking me.
Well, I can just share that I've gone from social sciences, sociology, anthropology, a bit of psychology thrown in there, public policy, etc., politics. I'm now just moved myself into the law sphere because I think that given the background that I have with and where I've worked, in industry, the areas that inspire me, now it's my time, as you say, is I think I want to learn a little bit about the law. How does it work within these things? Exactly what I guess there's an alignment there. You're looking at IP, intellectual property, et cetera, et cetera. Thank you so much for your for your comments. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It's very informative session.
Thank you. Oh, thank you very much. I do worry about these things. I do. It's like wanting to make sure that that there is value for you. And I think this is also part of leadership. It's like you didn't vote for me. You didn't choose me to be a leader, but I've been ascribed with Ola, my co-leader, and Shastra, I've ascribed her as a leader today too because of the session we're running. But when we are really committed and we love what we do with a passion, we want to know that we are supporting all of you in your journey and all the other students who I hope will listen to this. That we are encouraging you. And I know Shastra is really passionate about what you can see it when she talks. It's always so exciting. And Ola is exactly the same. Ola is a real entrepreneur, I have to say. She has guided, since she's been here, she's guided myself and many of the other all the other moderators and the school itself into some amazing initiatives with international conferences. And I don't know what's up her sleeve next, but I'm sure she'll share it. Is there, Shastra, please, some feedback, and also Ola, I'd like to hear from you both.
I think it's just been really great to hear from all of you and hear more about what you're doing. And I think the work all of you is doing is so important. And I would say that even if you were doing a creative writing thesis and writing a silly little book like I did, it's important work because you're doing it and you're passionate about it and you're driving something new and creating something new in the world. And I hope you'll continue doing it and reach out to others around you and bring them up with you because I think that's what we got to do. We have to take care of each other, particularly in this time. And I know that all of you will do so in whatever form that leadership takes for you. Yeah.
Thank you, Shastra. Ola, do you have some comments, please?
Same for me. I'm just very happy that we have this opportunity to connect and talk about opportunities and future collaboration, how important it is to collaborate. And I think hopefully in your discussion you will touch bases on the subject which is quite important for our group. It's cross-cultural barriers when you collaborate. And we have so many students from different parts of the world, different backgrounds. So that aspect is always very interesting for me. So I hope you bring it to this week discussions.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Ola. I really appreciate what you've said. You're absolutely right. And when we look at leadership in a cross-cultural perspective, remember the cross-culture, think of the context that the culture is living in. So we're living in, political, social, it could be, denomination, faith, religion, spirituality, whatever. We bring all of these in, and we come in and we come together. And how do we work with these? And this is where leadership, more than ever, I think, has become a more exciting, challenging, a space, really. But I suppose it is time. It's 11:05. I've definitely run past my time, but then, I just love your company and I appreciate you. Thank you very much for coming along today and making this a wonderful session, and wishing you all the best. And Shastra, thank you for taking time out of your schedule, and I do, and Ola for being. I keep saying, and I say it all the time, I couldn't do this without Ola, because I don't know how to do all this technical stuff that she just finds. She's so intuitive. She's a woman of many talents. And as is our Shastra, I always think it's amazing. And all of you, I wish you all the very best, and look forward to hearing more from you. And I'll stop now and just bless you all and say thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
So good to
Bye.
meet
Thank
all of
you.
you. Thank
Bye.
you.